Hey everybody, it's Master Galgeist here, bringing you my review of the latest episode of Supernatural, We Happy Few. Now, I really like this episode because it really ratcheted up the conflict that's coming in for the season finale. And it was really pretty interesting. So, it starts out with Lucifer and God kind of talking, trying to bury the hatchet. And it was really kind of cool to see this as a father-son moment and kind of figuring out each one's kind of perspective. Because usually you'd think only one side would be right and one side would be wrong. But in this case, you see that both sides are at fault and both sides are right. Because Lucifer's talking about, why did you lock me up? Why did you put me away? What did I do wrong? And God responds to that, doing that he was mad kind of at himself, at him, and him as well, because Lucifer was his favorite, and he saw what the mark was doing to him, and he felt that it was his failure and everything, so he pushed him away. And it was really kind of cool to humanize God in that way, and also Lucifer, and that he acted, there's many dimensions to how he acted out. One was like a jealousy at humans, the other was that like anger at God and wanting to be God. That it kind of naturally flowed to that kind of way. And then we started getting into God's plan to take on Amara, which was pretty cool. And he kind of laid out how they defeated her the last time. And that entailed him using the archangels to kind of like beat her down, Lucifer to go in physically, and then seal her with the mark. This time they wouldn't have the archangels because he was talking about how it would take too long to reform them, since they're like primordial kind of forces in the universe, how he created them. And as this is going on, Amara's trying to find God and everything, and finds Donatello and ends up eating his soul. I'm like, no, there could have been so much more done with him. But it's kind of upping the stakes and showing that Amara's not screwing around anymore. So what follows is kind of like a cool little A-team kind of thing where they're gathering up the people that they need. So they decided to gather up the remaining angels to use them, to also use as many witches with Rowena as possible, and also the demons. And to kind of structure it to try and beat her down, have Lucifer kind of going physically, and then God use the mark and use it on Sam to lock her away. And, of course, Dean's not completely with the plan because he's like, no, I've had the mark before. Don't do it. Let me do it. And it's like, always trying to do this kind of thing to Sam, and Sam's like, listen, I can take this, I can do this, and if you need to, lock me up. It needs to be done. And that's usually where it usually comes into effect, is the two kind of clash between the brothers and like what needs to be done and how to find a loophole. And it's always cool, but you always kind of see it coming. But this, I think, will be kind of interesting to see where they kind of take it, because we're drawing to, I feel, the writers doing a kind of more definitive kind of thing with this, where they kind of realize we've been doing this cycle and everything, and they're trying to build something with this cycle. And God even explained to them that if he killed Amara, bad stuff would happen. Like, existence and reality would cease. That's why they've got to kind of be kind of in check. So it was interesting to see that Rowena was, when they tried to gather her and her coven and all that, and the rest of the witches, that her and one of the other ones were trying to do a spell back in time to go back to Greece and all that before, like, existence got wiped out. So she's the one that kind of called Amara there, even though she's like, I know you betrayed me. So she did this, like, witch kind of magic, which actually harmed her pretty much before she ran it back and shot it through Amara and killed the rest of the witches. Now, at first you would think that Rowena should have technically died as well, but unless you're thinking of how it kind of went in that she was more of a conduit of the power, more than like the batteries that the witches were kind of at. So that's kind of how I think she survived it. Also, it's a little plot armory, but I think that it's not as bad as it could have been. Then Crowley and his demons, they were kind of setting up to after the angels did a kibosh on her, and that was pretty good. You see that, and seeing Castiel, Lucifer were pretty much gathering them up. Dean was the one that went and got the demons, and of course Sam went and got the witches. And the demon thing was kind of interesting. I was wondering how they were going to do it. And then, of course, Crowley came out, let his power, and really knocked it into her. She was really real and when she went in to confront Lucifer and God. And I think Lucifer used like the Spear of Destiny. I wasn't quite sure exactly what he used, but he used some kind of religious spear, and she was pretty much down, and he didn't apologize. God didn't apologize to her, and they were kind of talking, and he's like, you know I have to do this. You would have just ruined everything anyway. And he was pretty much getting the mark onto Sam and onto her, but she was able to kind of shake free of it and then grab him, and she's talking like, you still won't apologize to me. The only reason you created these things was to be above them. And he's like, yes, that was in the beginning, but now it's because of the creation itself. And that's important because she wants to tear it all down. He wants to build it up. The two forces, even though you wouldn't think that the one doing the creation would be like the force of order, because there's an inherent chaos in there. But yet, she wants just destruction for the sake of destruction, and also to revenge herself upon her brother. And then she does something that kind of threw me for a loop, and she pretty much essentially mortally wounded God. I was like, oh God, that's gonna be big ramifications, because usually their kind of conflict always would have to come into a stalemate, otherwise the rest of existence would be dead. But the reason she did that is that God could see her destroy the rest of his creations and everything. And she also did something with Lucifer. I didn't know if she killed him or like banished him back into the cage or something. We'll have to see what happens in the next episode. But this was really good, really action-packed, and a lot of deep stuff in the lore of the show and like in the cosmos lore for the universe. Because if she completes what she's trying to do, not only is creation going to be destroyed, but her and her brother will be destroyed. That's usually when you see fights like this, it usually ends up like that. Now, there could be other ways that happen in that God could make someone else God, possibly, or do something to that effect, or make someone else an archangel or something. Kind of leading into the like brother theory that I have of like each one becoming another aspect of, like one becoming the aspect of God and one becoming the aspect of darkness. But it's really going to be interesting to see what happens, because God's still alive and can do something. And now he pretty much has no choice but to somehow checkmate Amara in whatever way he can. Otherwise, she's going to undo everything. So I really like this episode, and I'm really kind of excited to see where this goes, and also the next season as well. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.